The blue grease pencil was still in my hand when my warning disappeared. I watched the cursor swallow the sentence from right to left. On TC52 scanners, interrupted sync after 300 mixed trace scans may crash receiving and duplicate the final batch on relaunch. Adrian leaned back from his laptop. Stop dramatizing. Around us, 12 black scanners blinked in their charging cradles, each with a blue line beside the battery seam. I had marked them to track which devices had survived which test cycle. Number 9 had crashed twice. Number 12 had posted the same tray of lavender 3 times. That's a known risk, I said. It's a lab artifact. It happened on 2 devices, under conditions no store will reproduce. Adrian scrolled to the top of the release notes and changed release owner from Mara Ellison to Adrian Vale. At 4:12 that afternoon, he shipped the update under his name. But when he turned toward me, he did not look triumphant. He looked scared. The test room at Hallowell Systems had once been a storage closet. One wall still had metal tracks where shelving had been removed, and the ventilation made a ticking sound whenever the heat came on. We had furnished it with 2 folding tables, a rack of wireless routers, a battered label printer, and enough fake merchandise to open the saddest garden center in America. A tray of silk basil sat beside a plastic fern, paper barcodes hung from clay pots on binder clips. Someone from design had donated a ceramic frog wearing a crown, which now guarded our password notebook. Adrian closed his laptop. "You're taking this personally." "I'm taking it literally." There it is. What? That tone. He said it gently, which was how Adrian delivered his sharpest comments. In meetings, he could make an insult sound like concern for your posture. I set the grease pencil beside number 9. If a receiver loses Wi-Fi after a large batch, the local queue spikes. The app dies during handoff. When they reopen it, the final transaction can post again. I know what the ticket says. Then why remove it? Because release notes are for actionable information, not every theoretical edge case somebody can force in a closet. I looked at the silk basil, the routers, the 12 devices. We built the closet to force edge cases. And you did your job. You found one. Engineering assessed it. Product accepted it. You accepted it. Yes. He slipped his laptop into a gray felt sleeve Claire had given him for Christmas. I had been sitting beside her when she ordered it. That's what the lead part means. Through the glass in the door, people were gathering near the kitchen for the launch countdown. Someone had opened 2 bottles of grocery store champagne. Adrian glanced that way, then back at me. "This is a big afternoon," he said. "Try not to walk into it like you're attending a sentencing." Did Caleb sign off on the risk? Caleb signed off on the build. That wasn't my question. His jaw shifted, barely. Adrian's face was expressive when he wanted it to be, and nearly blank when he didn't. That small movement was the only reason I knew I had found the live wire. "Mara," he said, "you have a talent for confusing persistence with authority, and you have a talent for answering a different question." The ticking vent stopped. In the sudden quiet, the charging cradles made tiny electrical noises. Adrian rested one hand on the door. "I recommended you for this job." There it was, not loud, never loud. "I know." When other people saw a thin resume and a 6-month gap, I told them you were meticulous. I said you saw things other analysts missed. You told the truth. A laugh escaped him, dry and surprised. "See that? That's exactly what I'm talking about." "What are you talking about?" "You make gratitude sound like an accusation." He opened the door. The noise from the kitchen reached us, music, laughter, the hard pop of a cork hitting a ceiling tile. "Come have a glass," he said. "Bellwether goes live at 5. You helped build something good." He left before I could answer. At my desk, a tiny gold bell appeared in the corner of my monitor. The shared release document had updated. Known risks now contained 3 items: a font issue on older tablets, a delayed thumbnail in the product catalog, and a harmless warning message that sometimes appeared during password reset. My crash risk was gone. The revision history was not. I opened it and found my sentence in pale green, followed by Adrian's deletion in red. I exported the history as a PDF, then immediately felt ridiculous. The gesture had the furtive quality of taking photographs during a bad marriage. Our release process did not require private evidence. It required a readiness packet, test matrix, defect disposition, build checksum, support notes, owner sign-offs. I had prepared those packets for every bellwether release since I joined Hallowell. Adrian often called them my church bulletins because they were orderly, repetitive, and mostly ignored. I added the crash video to the packet. Then I added the original sentence under Analyst Findings, attached the device logs from 9 and 12, and changed the defect disposition from closed lab only to accepted by product, pending, field validation. My cursor hovered over save. Accepted by product was accurate. Pending field validation was accurate. Neither phrase was likely to make Adrian happy. I saved it. The system stamped my name and the time, 4:26 p.m. A message from Adrian appeared. "You coming?" Another arrived before I answered. Claire says if I let you hide in the test dungeon during launch, she'll blame me. He followed it with a photograph from my sister's kitchen the previous Sunday. Claire stood at the stove in one of Adrian's old college shirts, holding a wooden spoon like a microphone. I was visible in the background, reaching into a cabinet for plates. Adrian had apparently caught me mid-sentence, my mouth open and one eyebrow lifted. The three of us had looked easy together. Adrian had joined Hallowell 4 years before I did. He started in implementation, traveling to garden centers and farm supply chains, learning which owners cared about shrink, which managers lied about training, and which loading docks lost wireless signal whenever the compactor ran. He remembered people's coffee orders after meeting them once. He could walk into a room full of hostile store operators and have them complaining to him like old friends within 10 minutes. He was good at his job. That was part of the problem. If Adrian had been an idiot, people would have checked his work. When my previous company eliminated my department, he forwarded my resume to Hallowell's quality director. He also rewrote the first paragraph without asking and removed the word careful because, as he put it, careful sounded like slow. Claire had been delighted when I got the offer. She liked the idea that 2 people she loved would share a vocabulary she didn't have to learn. At Sunday dinners, Adrian and I talked about scan rates and inventory drift, while she rolled her eyes and passed the potatoes. At work, we rarely ate lunch together. That had been his decision. "Clean boundaries," he'd said on my first day. "I don't want anyone thinking you're here because of me." For the first year, his distance had felt protective. Lately, it felt like a door that locked from his side. I wrote back, "Tell Claire I'm working." His answer came at once. "She knows you're always working." I closed the chat. The launch party occupied the 6 feet between the refrigerator and the office printer. Our chief operating officer poured champagne into compostable cups printed with green leaves. Someone had arranged vegetable dip in the shape of the bellwether logo, though the orange pepper used for the center had collapsed and made the whole thing look injured. A countdown timer glowed on the wall monitor. 93 bellwether locations were scheduled to receive the update. The new rapid receiving workflow let workers scan an entire mix tray without returning to the summary screen between varieties. In pilot tests, it cut receiving time by 38%. Adrian had spent 9 months getting store managers to agree on the flow, and 3 more convincing our engineers that garden centers were not merely small grocery stores with worse roofs. He stood beneath the monitor with a paper cup raised. "Before this goes out," he said, "I want to recognize the team that dragged it across the line." He thanked Caleb and the mobile engineers. He thanked design for simplifying a screen Bellwether had changed its mind about 7 times. He thanked support for agreeing to staff the launch channel through the weekend. Then he lifted his cup toward me, and Mara tried very hard to break it. People laughed. I smiled because everyone looked at me, expecting the familiar response. I was the analyst, Breaking things was the joke. She nearly succeeded, Adrian added. More laughter, including mine this time, a short sound that hurt my throat. The countdown reached 0. Green check marks began filling the deployment dashboard. 10 stores. 27. 51. Adrian stood close enough for his shoulder to touch mine. See? It's installing. Could you let me have 30 seconds? I haven't taken anything from you. His smile remained in place for the room. You don't always know when you are. The 93rd checkmark appeared and everyone cheered. Adrian took a swallow of champagne. At the edge of the crowd, Lena Ortiz caught my eye. Lena ran customer support with the calm severity of a woman who had heard every possible version of "I didn't touch anything." She wore red-framed glasses and kept a jar of ginger candies on her desk that she offered only to callers she liked. During serious outages, she knitted under the conference table. She tipped her head toward the hallway. I followed her out. "What did you find?" she asked. "Why do you think I found something?" "Because Adrian just thanked everybody by name and described you as a weather event." I glanced toward the kitchen. Interrupted sync after a large local batch can crash receiving. On relaunch, the final batch may post twice. How large? 300 mixed tray scans. Lena frowned. That's high. During spring deliveries? Her frown deepened. Bellwether's larger stores might receive 600 trays on a busy morning. Workers split the load among scanners, but not evenly, and greenhouse Wi-Fi was notoriously unreliable. "Can you reproduce it?" she asked. "Twice." "Show me." "The build is already live." I understand the direction time moves. Back in the test room, I picked up number 9. My blue mark lay across the rubber casing, a little smudged where my thumb had worried at it all afternoon. Lena took off her glasses and cleaned them on the hem of her blouse. "What do the marks mean?" 1 line means clean install. 2 means it completed the 100 scan cycle. A dot means I forced a network handoff. And this ugly little cloud? It was supposed to be a star. It looks like Ohio. Then Ohio means it crashed. She put her glasses back on. "Please add that to the official legend." I laughed despite myself. We loaded the rapid receiving screen and began scanning. The fake merchandise filled the folding table. Rosemary, lavender, basil, ceramic pots, seed packets, hose nozzles. Each beep raised the batch count. At 100 scans, the app held. At 200, it held. At 300, I moved the scanner from router A to router B. The screen hesitated, then recovered. Lena looked at me. "Again," I said. We continued to 327. I unplugged router B. The spinner appeared. The spinner stopped. The app vanished to the home screen. Lena's face changed, not dramatically. Her mouth simply lost its skepticism. "Open it," I said. She relaunched receiving. The app asked whether to restore the interrupted batch. She tapped yes. The summary showed 327 items. Then a green toast appeared along the bottom. Batch posted successfully. A second toast replaced it. Batch posted successfully. Lena set the scanner down. From the kitchen, another cheer went up as the first live store completed a receiving batch. "How much did we just duplicate?" she asked. "Only the last tray group, usually." Usually is my favorite unit of measurement. I opened the transaction log. 24 lavender plants had become 48. Lena leaned over my shoulder. "Does Adrian know it doubles?" He deleted it from the release notes. Her eyes moved to me. "Deleted what?" "The warning." "After you documented this?" "Yes." She looked through the glass in the door. Adrian was accepting congratulations beside the broken vegetable logo, one hand in his pocket, his smile easy and bright. "Send me the ticket number," she said. "You're on launch support." "That's why I'm asking." I sent it. Lena opened the support console on her phone and subscribed to the defect. "If it happens in a store," she said, "I want the first ticket before somebody teaches it better manners." Adrian appeared in the doorway. For half a second, nobody spoke. His gaze moved from Lena's phone to the scanner on the table, then to the blue pencil beside it. "Party's out here," he said. "We were just finishing a validation," Lena replied. "On the deployed build?" "Yes." Adrian's smile tightened. "Mara, can I talk to you?" Lena picked up number 9. "I'm borrowing Ohio." "It's a star," I said. "History will decide." She walked past Adrian without looking at him. He waited until her footsteps faded. Then he closed the door. "What did you send her?" "The defect number." "I told you product accepted the risk. Support staff's production. You're escalating around me." I showed the support lead a production risk. Adrian stepped closer to the table. His paper cup had bent inward where he gripped it. "This is what happened last time," he said. "You got attached to being right, and suddenly every normal decision became an ethical crisis. The last release had a data loss defect, a defect that never happened outside your test, because we delayed it and fixed it. You cost us 3 weeks. I cost us 3 weeks or saved us a failure. We don't get to run both versions." He looked down at the scanner. "You know what I have riding on bellwether." There was the first honest sentence he had given me all afternoon. "Yes," I said. "Then stop acting like you're the only person with something to lose." My phone vibrated against the folding table. A new message lit the screen from Bellwether Operations. "First live receiving batch complete, 41% faster. Store manager thrilled." Adrian saw it and exhaled through his nose. 41%, he said. "Real store, real network, real employees. 1 batch, 1 more than your closet." He opened the door, then paused beside me. "Do not put another note in front of the client without clearing it through me." The readiness packet had already gone out automatically at 4:30. He knew that. He had designed the process. I watched him leave, wondering whether he had forgotten or whether he was waiting to see if I would admit what I'd saved. At 6:17, the deployment dashboard was still green. At 6:43, Claire texted me a photograph of 3 plates on her dining table. "Your chair is getting judgmental." I told her I was staying late. At 7:08, the first support ticket arrived from a Bellwether store outside Columbus. "Receiving app closed during sync," the manager had written. "Restarted and now inventory looks weird." Lena assigned the ticket to herself. 30 seconds later, she added me as a watcher. Then Adrian removed me. I clicked my own name back into the watcher field. A red notice appeared. "You don't have permission to modify this ticket." The permissions were controlled by support, not product. Lena could have removed me, but Lena had just added me. I refreshed the page. The ticket remained, stripped down to a subject line and a gray padlock. Through the test room glass, Adrian stood at his desk with his headset on. He was smiling at whoever he had called. I picked up my laptop and went to support. Lena's department occupied the far corner of the office, where 6 people sat beneath a corkboard covered in thank you notes from customers and increasingly hostile reminders about the communal microwave. She had placed number 9 beside her keyboard. Ohio faced outward. "You removed me?" I asked. She kept typing. "No, Adrian did. He doesn't have admin rights in support. He apparently found someone who does." Lena stopped typing and looked toward a narrow office with frosted glass. Victor Hale, our director of customer operations, was inside, also wearing a headset. "What did the store say?" I asked. "Columbus received a mixed shipment. App closed at 314 scans, restored the batch, and showed an inventory variance afterward. They're doing a physical recount." "Can you add the device model?" "Already asked." "And pull the local sync log before they restart again?" "Already sent instructions." "And tell them not to post another adjustment until Mara." I stopped. Lena pointed to the chair beside her. "Sit down or go home. Hovering is not a recognized incident role." I sat. She slid a ginger candy across the desk. "That bad?" I asked. "You look like you're trying to hold your face together with your teeth." The candy wrapper crackled loudly in the quiet department. Most of support had gone home after the launch, though 2 specialists were still monitoring chat. On Lena's second screen, the bellwether queue showed one open incident, 4 routine questions, and a store manager who had somehow changed every product description to capital letters. The Columbus ticket updated. Device: Zebra TC52. Store confirmed 24 lavender units received. System shows 48. Lena read it twice. "That's your last tray group," she said. Yes, she copied the information into the internal defect. A moment later, the status changed from closed lab only to investigating production. Then it changed back. Lena stared at the screen. "Oh, that's cute." The audit trail showed Adrian as the person who had restored the old status. He appeared beside us before either of us spoke. "Victor's handling bellwether," he said. "Victor isn't a mobile support specialist," Lena replied. "He doesn't need to be. Columbus made an adjustment while the batch was still syncing. We're confirming the workflow." The app crashed. "We're confirming that too." Lena turned her chair toward him. "Why did you lock Mara out?" "To keep one clean line of communication." "You mean yours?" "I mean support to product to engineering, the way an incident should run. Support is sitting in front of you." Adrian lowered his voice. "Lena, I appreciate the help. Victor and I have it." "Do you?" His smile vanished. Lena picked up the scanner and offered it to him. 327 scans. Network handoff, crash, restore, duplicate, final tray group. You can have Ohio if you want to confirm it personally. Adrian didn't take it. "It's called Ohio?" he asked. "That's the least important thing I just said." He looked at me. "Go home. I can help isolate the queue behavior. Caleb is reviewing it. Did you send him my logs?" "I sent him what he needs." That answer landed differently now. Earlier, I had thought Adrian might be making an aggressive schedule decision with incomplete information. The locked ticket clarified things. He was shaping what information could become complete. Lena set Ohio down between us. "I'll keep the store ticket open pending the recount." Victor already approved closing it as user error. The user didn't write the code that posted lavender twice. The user relaunched during a sync because the app closed, which we're investigating. You just changed the defect to closed. Adrian pinched the bridge of his nose. "This is why I wanted one communication line." "No," Lena said. "This is why you wanted a locked door." He took a breath and smoothed his expression. "We're all tired." I almost admired the recovery. Adrian could turn accusation into fatigue so quickly that you found yourself wondering whether you needed water. "Go have dinner with your sister," he told me. "Caleb and I will work the logs." Claire's 3 plates were still on the table when I reached their house at 8:15. The food had been moved to the oven, but the plates remained arranged around a bowl of supermarket tulips. My chair faced the kitchen. Adrian's was at the end. Claire opened the door wearing soft gray work pants and no shoes. She was a physical therapist at a rehabilitation clinic and could spot a guarded shoulder from across a room. She looked at mine and said, "Bad?" "Complicated." "Those are different answers." She hugged me anyway. Claire hugged with her whole torso, like she had decided not to leave any room for misunderstanding. I nearly told her everything right there. Then I saw Adrian's felt laptop sleeve on the kitchen counter. "He's here?" "In the office. He said you two had a disagreement." "We had a release." He used the word disagreement. "Of course he did." Claire's arms dropped. "Please don't start by making me regret asking." "I'm not." "You did the voice." "What voice?" "The one that means every question has a wrong answer and you're waiting to see which one I pick." From the back of the house, a door opened. Adrian came into the kitchen with his sleeves rolled up and a dish towel over one shoulder, performing normalcy with admirable attention to props. "Hey," he said, "you made it." He kissed Claire's cheek and went to the oven. I watched him pull out a casserole dish. "Are the logs clean?" Claire closed her eyes. Adrian set the dish on the stove. "Can we eat first?" "You said Caleb was reviewing them." "He is." "Then you should know." "I know Columbus created a duplicate transaction after an interrupted sync." "That's the warning you deleted." Claire looked from him to me. Deleted from what? The release notes, I said. Adrian took 3 glasses from a cabinet. A technical note that didn't belong in customer-facing copy. It predicted what happened. One store had an inventory variance. We're still reviewing cause. You reclassified the ticket as user error. I said a working disposition. Claire pulled out a chair but didn't sit. Can one of you explain this without talking like you're being deposed? Adrian filled the glasses from a pitcher of water. Mara found a crash under extreme lab conditions. Engineering judged it unlikely. I shipped the release. A store has now reported something that may be related, and Mara responded by escalating outside the team. I showed support the defect. You recruited Lena into an argument. Lena runs support. At work, Claire said sharply. Do either of you remember that you're family? Adrian's face softened immediately. That's what I'm trying to protect. I stared at him. He gave me a small warning look, the kind he used across conference tables when someone was about to discuss pricing in front of a client. Protect from what? Claire asked. A bad evening becoming something bigger than it is. I pulled out my chair. He changed the release owner to himself, deleted my warning, locked me out of the first matching production ticket, and then told you we had a disagreement. Adrian set the pitcher down too hard. Water jumped over the rim. I put my name on the release because I own the product decision, he said. That means if it fails, it comes back on me. Then why are you labeling it user error? Because that is currently the most likely explanation. It reproduced in front of Lena, in a test closet after you went looking for it. That's my job. Your job is also to distinguish between possible and probable. Claire gripped the back of her chair. Stop. We did. She looked at Adrian first. Did you lock her out? I narrowed the incident group. That was not my question. For one strange second, I loved her so much I couldn't look at her. Adrian picked up the dish towel and wiped the spilled water. Yes. Why? Because when Mara thinks she's found something, she stops hearing anything that doesn't support it. Claire looked at me. Is that true? Sometimes family knew exactly where to press because they had spent years learning the map without intending harm. I'm still right when I'm unpleasant, I said. Claire flinched. Adrian laughed once, without humor. There it is. We ate because the food was hot and because leaving would have required someone to acknowledge the evening had failed. The casserole had chicken, rice, mushrooms, and too much rosemary. Claire asked whether either of us wanted more. Neither of us did. Adrian's laptop chimed from the counter. He stood so quickly his chair scraped the floor. The screen faced away from me, but I saw his expression change as he read. He typed a short response, then closed the laptop. Another one? I asked. He carried his plate to the sink. A store had a login issue. Bellwether? Yes. Receiving? No. He rinsed his plate, though Claire always complained that rinsing defeated the dishwasher's sensor. She watched him do it and said nothing. At the front door, she hugged me less completely than before. Can you just give each other tonight? She whispered. He'll use tonight. Mara. He will. Her face hardened. You don't get to make me responsible for how quickly you two hurt each other. I didn't ask you to. You came into my house and put evidence on the table between the plates because he got here first and called it a disagreement. She stepped back. That was the price of saying the accurate thing at the cruelest possible time. No one could tell you it was false. I drove home with the blue grease pencil in my coat pocket. I had taken it from the test room without noticing. At a red light, I found myself turning it between my fingers, staining the side of my index finger blue. At 11:36, the internal incident channel appeared in my chat list. I clicked it. Access denied. Below it, Caleb had sent me a direct message. Did you test batch restore with background catalog refresh enabled? I answered immediately. Yes. Crash reproduces either way. Handoff is the trigger. not catalog refresh. Check memory pressure in the local queue after 280 scans. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. Adrian said your run used a throttled router profile. It did. The bellwether greenhouse profile from last quarter's field capture. Can you send it? I sent the profile, the raw logs, and both crash videos. 2 minutes later, Caleb wrote, "Thanks." Then, "Don't mention this thread in the incident room. I'm already having a night." I looked at that sentence for a long time. Caleb was a strong engineer and a weak combatant. He could trace a race condition through 6 services, but treated disagreement between co-workers as weather, dangerous, unavoidable, and best observed from indoors. I wrote, "My files are already in the readiness packet. The 3 dots did not return." Saturday morning, Adrian assigned me a new task. Bellwether barcode legacy reconciliation. Need by Monday. The attachment contained 11,000 discontinued product records, most older than our current platform. It was work usually handled by data operations and had nothing to do with the live release. I replied, "I'm available to validate a patch." His answer came 5 minutes later. "Engineering has validation covered. Please focus on assigned work." By noon, Bellwether had opened 3 more receiving tickets. I knew because Lena texted me nothing but 3 ticket numbers. I could not open any of them. At 2, she sent a photograph of her corkboard. Pinned beneath the microwave warning was a handwritten note, Columbus. 24 lavender became 48. Dayton. 16 rosemary became 32. Akron. 10 ceramic planters became 20. At the bottom, she had drawn a crooked star. I enlarged the photograph and could see a blue smudge on the paper. Sunday afternoon, Caleb sent a patch build to my personal test queue without a message. I went into the empty office. The lights over support were off. Somebody had left a mug in the sink with a tea bag dried to the side like a small brown tongue. Number 9 was missing from the test room. Lena still had it. I picked up number 12, added a second blue dot, and installed Caleb's build. The app survived the first handoff. It survived the second. At scan 341, memory climbed, the screen froze, and receiving closed. When I restored the batch, it posted the final tray group once. The duplicate was fixed. The crash was not. I recorded the run and sent it to Caleb. Then I added the result to the test matrix in the readiness packet. My email chimed before I could close the file. Adrian had forwarded my original summary back to me with tracked changes. He had removed reproducible, changed crash to interruption, and replaced network handoff with artificial connectivity manipulation. His note read, "Please accept revisions before Monday. We need the record to reflect supported store behavior, not adversarial lab testing." I read it twice. Then I placed the blue pencil against the printed summary and drew one straight line beside the sentence he wanted erased. My reply was 6 words. "I won't certify this as accurate." Adrian's reply arrived at 6:04 Monday morning. "Then you are declining your assigned certification responsibility." I was still at my kitchen counter wearing one shoe. The second lay on its side near the refrigerator where I had kicked it off while reading his tracked changes the night before. I typed, "I'm declining to certify wording I know is inaccurate." I deleted no. I put it back. Before I could send the message, a calendar invitation covered the screen, performance alignment, 8 a.m. Adrian had invited Victor Hale and no one else. I sent my reply, finished tying my shoe, and put the blue pencil in my bag. Victor's office smelled faintly of cinnamon gum. He sat behind his desk with a legal pad centered in front of him and a bottle of antacid near his mouse. Adrian took the chair beside mine instead of the one across from me, arranging us as if we had come together for advice. "Mara," Victor began, "this isn't disciplinary. The legal pad already had the date written at the top. Okay, we're trying to get ahead of a communication breakdown." Adrian nodded like he had just heard the diagnosis for the first time. Victor continued. "You raised a defect before release. Product evaluated it and chose to proceed. That is within product scope." "Agreed." Adrian shifted beside me. Victor glanced at him, then back at me. After that decision, you continued testing and involved support without coordinating through the incident lead. Support asked me to demonstrate the defect. You approached Lena. I asked about the first matching production ticket. She asked me to show her the reproduction. That distinction may matter to you, Adrian said, but it doesn't change the effect. What was the effect? Confusion. Lena looked pretty clear. Victor tapped his pen against the paper. This is the communication problem. I took a breath. 4 stores have reported the same failure. The patch fixes duplicate posting but still crashes. Adrian wants me to replace crash with interruption and describe the Bellwether network profile as artificial manipulation. I won't sign that. Victor stopped tapping. Adrian turned toward him. The 4 stores did not follow the intended receiving flow. They scanned inventory and changed access points, I said. That's the flow. They restored incomplete batches without waiting for synchronization. The app was closed. There was nothing to wait on. Victor held up one hand. What does engineering say? Caleb is still reviewing root cause, Adrian said. Caleb sent me a patch yesterday. Adrian looked at me. What? The duplicate prevention works. The crash remains after prolonged scanning. You came into the office and tested an unapproved build. It was sent to my test queue. By whom? I looked at Victor. Ask engineering. Adrian's knee stopped bouncing. Victor drew a line across his legal pad. We're getting into technical weeds. The weeds are the product, I said. He rubbed his forehead. Mara, your promotion review is scheduled for next month. The sentence entered the room carefully, wearing clean shoes. Adrian looked down. Victor said, a release risk owner needs judgment, but also alignment. If senior leadership sees you rejecting accepted language and operating outside your assigned channel, that will affect the review. Has my promotion packet already been changed? Neither man answered quickly enough. I turned to Adrian. Did you pause it? I recommended we wait until after Bellwether. When? Friday. Before the launch. Before Columbus. Maybe before he deleted my warning. Victor leaned forward. This is not retaliation. I didn't call it that. Your expression did. I'll work on that. Adrian exhaled. This is exactly why these conversations go nowhere. I reached into my bag and removed the printed summary. The blue line ran beside the original warning. I placed the pages on Victor's desk. I'll validate Caleb's patch. I'll help Bellwether reconcile duplicates. I'll explain every test condition and result. I won't certify wording that converts a reproduced crash into user behavior. Victor looked at the pages but did not touch them. And the barcode reconciliation? Adrian asked. If that remains my assignment, I'll do it. Put the priority in writing. You already have it in writing. Good. I stood. Victor frowned. We're not finished. I have 11,000 discontinued barcodes due today. Lena was waiting outside Victor's office with Ohio tucked under one arm and 2 coffees in a cardboard carrier. I guessed medium black, she said. That's not how I take it. I didn't say I guessed correctly. She handed me a cup. We walked toward the test room. What are you doing here? I asked. Returning stolen property. You could have left it on the table. I wanted to see who came out looking nauseous. And? Victor. But that might be baseline. At the test room door, she gave me Ohio. The blue star had worn down to a cloudy smear. 6 stores now, she said quietly. Victor ordered all tickets routed through him. User error. Workflow variance. That sounds more expensive. It has additional syllables. She pulled a folded sheet from her pocket. It was a Bellwether incident export, stripped of names and internal comments. The affected stores all showed the same sequence: high scan count, network handoff, application termination, batch restore. 4 had duplicate final groups. 2 had caught the duplicates during manual count. Bellwether's finance team found markdowns based on inflated inventory, Lena said. Not huge, a few $100s so far. but the store operators are angry because product told them they relaunched wrong. Who told them? Adrian gave Victor a script. I handed the page back. You shouldn't be giving me restricted incident data. You validated the release. You should be in the incident. That's not what I said. It's what I heard. She walked away before I could return the paper. Caleb arrived at 9:20 carrying a backpack, a bicycle helmet, and the defeated expression of a man who had spent Sunday arguing with his own code. I need Ohio, he said. I handed him the scanner. He turned it over. Why is Ohio written on the tape? It's a star. Sure. What did you find? He placed the device on the table and opened his laptop. A memory graph filled the screen, climbing in blue steps. The local queue keeps thumbnails for each scanned item until commit. We used to cap mixed batches at 150. Rapid receiving removes that cap. I know. Product asked us to. I know that too. He glanced toward the glass door. The network switch creates a second sync context before the first one releases memory. On a long batch, Android kills the app. And restoring resubmits the last unacknowledged group. Correct. The patch adds an idempotency check, so no more duplicates. I'm also capping the queue at 250 and committing silently in the background. Will that preserve Adrian's speed numbers? Mostly. How mostly? Best case, same. Worst case, 8% slower. Bellwether had been promised 38% faster. 8 points would still leave a meaningful gain, but Adrian's internal director pitch used the full number in its first line. Can it clear cached thumbnails earlier instead? I asked. We tried. Catalog preview flickers. The receiver doesn't need previews for items already scanned. Design does. Does Bellwether? Caleb's mouth twitched. You want me to turn off the thumbnail cache after confirmation. For rapid mode only. That might work. We spent the next 2 hours testing it. Caleb adjusted the cache behavior while I ran repeated batches across both routers. Ohio survived 300 scans, then 400. Memory rose and fell instead of climbing toward the ceiling. At 450, I forced a handoff and killed router B. Receiving stalled for 6 seconds, recovered, and posted once. I marked a new line beside Ohio's battery seam. Caleb watched me do it. Blue means good? Blue means I can prove which device I touched. That's bleak. It used to just mean good. We tried number 12, then 3, 6, and 11. All passed. At noon, Caleb sent the build to engineering review with me listed as validator. At 12:06, Adrian changed validator to product team. Caleb changed it back. Neither of us commented. My barcode spreadsheet waited on my second monitor. I worked through lunch, matching discontinued pot sizes and obsolete fertilizer codes, while number 6 ran a soak test beside me. Every 40 seconds it gave a soft confirmation beep. At 1:15, Priya Shah messaged me. Priya was Bellwether's operations liaison, a former store manager who could identify most plants from their inventory descriptions and most vendors from their excuses. We spoke every other week about release packets, usually when a location had ignored an upgrade notice. Can you point me to the final readiness archive for 4.8? I sent the standard client portal path. Her next message took longer. Is the 426 packet final or superseded? Final for analyst findings and launch validation. Product edited the customer-facing notes after that. Do you have both versions? Yes. Revision history is attached to the packet. Thank you. I waited, but she sent nothing else. At 1:30, a Bellwether meeting appeared on my calendar. Store review. Incident 2, 4-118. Required attendees included Adrian, Victor, Caleb, Lena, and me. Priya had added us. The external auditor was Malcolm Reed from Rook Retail Assurance, a firm Bellwether used to review vendor-caused inventory discrepancies and process failures. Adrian appeared in the test room doorway with his laptop under one arm. Why is Priya contacting you directly? She asked for the readiness archive. What did you send her? The portal path. Did you provide commentary? I answered which packet was final. His eyes dropped to the printed summary beside my keyboard. You should not attend the store review. I'm required. I'll ask Priya to remove you. Why? Because you are too close to this. I tested it. That is what I mean. He stepped into the room and closed the door. I can still protect your review, he said. For a moment I thought he meant the client meeting. Then I understood. My promotion. This weekend got out of hand. We stabilize Bellwether, present one account of what happened, and move forward. Which account? A rare crash occurred when store teams exceeded the recommended batch size and restored sessions during unstable connectivity. We've improved recovery and clarified training. What recommended batch size? We'll publish one. After they exceeded it. His patience cracked. Do you want the company to tell Bellwether we knowingly shipped a crash? I want us to tell them what happened before they decide what else we're hiding. We are fixing it. Caleb and I are fixing it. Adrian's face tightened at the correction. You think this meeting is going to make you look brave. It won't. Clients don't reward people who expose internal disagreement. Leadership doesn't either. I'm not trying to look brave. No, you're trying to be undeniable. He opened the door. That's a lonely thing to build a career around, Mara. At 2, Claire sent one message. I need a few days without being between you. I wrote, I understand. Then I put my phone face down beside the blue pencil and joined the store review. Malcolm Reed appeared on the conference screen in a dark green tie, with Priya seated beside him at Bellwether headquarters. 6 store operators filled the smaller video windows. Adrian took the chair nearest the camera. Victor sat beside him. I stayed at the end of the table with Ohio in front of me. Adrian began smoothly. He acknowledged disruption, praised the stores for fast reporting, and described the new patch as an improvement to recovery under unusually long sessions. Malcolm let him finish. Then he opened a document. Before we discuss the patch, he said, I want to clarify what the vendor knew before deployment. Adrian folded his hands. Malcolm looked down and read, on TC52 scanners, interrupted sync after 300 mixed tray scans may crash receiving and duplicate the final batch on relaunch. Adrian turned toward me before Malcolm reached the word duplicate. His look lasted less than a second, but everyone at our end of the table saw it. Malcolm Reed looked up from the readiness packet. Who wrote that finding? I did, I said, and when? Friday before deployment. Adrian turned back to the screen. That language came from an adversarial lab scenario. It wasn't included in the approved customer notes because the test conditions fell outside normal store operation. One of the store operators unmuted herself. This is Dana from Columbus. Which part was abnormal? The scanning or the terrible Wi-Fi? Priya's mouth tightened. Adrian answered carefully. The uninterrupted batch size combined with the forced access point handoff. Our loading dock drops the greenhouse network every time the compactor runs, Dana said. You have the site map. Your people tested it last year. Malcolm scrolled through the packet. I see a Bellwether greenhouse network profile attached to the test. Yes, I said. It was captured during the prior field assessment. Adrian slid one hand beneath the table. I could see the tendons shift in his wrist. The profile was throttled, he said. It matched the recorded signal loss. Could you please let me finish a response? Malcolm watched us over the top of his glasses. I'd prefer that the person who performed the test answer questions about the test. Adrian sat back. Malcolm shared his screen. My test matrix appeared, followed by the original release notes and the revision history. My warning was highlighted in green. Adrian's deletion sat directly below it in red. The client-facing notes were edited 12 minutes before deployment, Malcolm said. The release owner was also changed from Ms. Ellison to Mr. Vale. Was that part of a standard approval process? As product lead, I owned the ship decision, Adrian said. Changing the owner made accountability clear. Were the analyst findings rejected by engineering? Caleb leaned toward the microphone. The build passed the approved release suite. That wasn't the question. Caleb looked at Adrian, then at the memory graph open on his laptop. We did not reject Mara's reproduction, he said. I reviewed her logs over the weekend and confirmed the underlying behavior. Before or after deployment? After. Malcolm nodded once. Had you received the logs before deployment? Caleb rubbed one thumb across the edge of his trackpad. I received the build-level test results. I did not receive the complete reproduction packet until later. Adrian cut in. Engineering approved the build based on probability and business impact. Bellwether had a fixed launch window. We made a risk decision. Priya spoke for the first time. We weren't told there was a risk decision. It was assessed as too remote to burden store teams with. Dana laughed through her microphone. Thank you for protecting me from that sentence. I only had to count 400 pots by hand. Another operator said, our store marked down rosemary because the system showed 32 units in back stock. We had 16. Victor shifted closer to the table. We've already started compiling inventory adjustments and associated losses. Your incident script told our managers they restored the batches incorrectly, Priya said. Victor's face reddened. That was preliminary guidance based on information supplied by product. Adrian looked at him. You approved the wording. I approved a support response on your representation that the crash required an unsupported workflow. Their clean communication line lasted exactly 1 weekend. Malcolm closed the revision history window. I'm less interested in assigning motives than in establishing sequence. Miss Ellison documented the failure. Product removed the warning and shipped. Stores reproduced the behavior. Initial support guidance attributed it to store workflow. Is any part of that sequence factually disputed? Adrian's eyes moved around the table as though an alternate answer might be written on someone's face. The wording implies certainty we did not have on Friday, he said. You had a reproducible test, Malcolm replied, in a controlled environment. That is where vendors traditionally test software. Lena coughed into her fist. It sounded suspiciously like a laugh. Malcolm turned to me. What does the proposed patch change? I rotated Ohio so the blue mark faced me. It prevents a restored batch from submitting the last unacknowledged group twice. It also changes thumbnail caching during rapid receiving, which keeps memory stable when a long batch moves between access points. We've run the patch on 5 TC52 units through repeated batches of more than 400 scans. We? Priya asked. Caleb built it. I validated it. Lena connected the production reports to the test conditions. Lena leaned toward the microphone. 6 stores reported the matching sequence. We preserved all 6 ticket histories. Victor stared at her. She adjusted her red glasses. Support does that. What does the patch cost us in receiving speed? Priya asked. Caleb answered. Less than 1% in our current tests. Adrian straightened. This was territory he understood. The original improvement remains intact, he said. We can deploy the patch tonight, provide revised guidance, and keep the rollout on schedule. He sounded good. Even then, with his own edits glowing on the screen, he found the useful center of the problem and spoke from it. That ability had carried him through years of difficult rooms. Malcolm said, technical remediation is one condition. Release governance is another. Priya opened a document of her own. Bellwether will suspend further vendor-led feature releases until we receive a corrective action report, store reimbursement plan, and a process showing that documented release risks cannot be removed by the same person accountable for the launch date. The room went still. Our contract renewal was due in 6 weeks. A suspension did not end it, but it placed every promise Hallowell had made into a narrow, uncomfortable hallway. Adrian began, Priya, that level of process change is proportionate, she said. We're discussing a warning that described the production incident almost word for word. Victor asked, would an independent quality sign-off satisfy the requirement? It would be a start. Everyone looked at me. I hated that part. For 3 days, I had wanted the facts to become visible. Now that they were, visibility felt like standing under examination lights with your sleeves rolled up. I can sign a corrected validation report for the patch, I said. I won't sign a process that gives quality responsibility without authority. Malcolm tilted his head. What authority would be required? Known risks stay in the archive with their original author and disposition. Product can accept a risk, but the acceptance is recorded with a named owner. Customer-facing wording can be simplified, not erased. If quality and product disagree on a severity that can affect inventory, billing, or data integrity, a separate release authority makes the final decision. Victor said that could slow deployment. Yes. The word sat there without apology. I continued. So, define response times. Give the release authority 2 hours for a launch window decision. If they don't respond, the issue escalates. But don't call me accountable for a risk after removing me from the ticket, the incident, and the document. Adrian's mouth tightened. Priya looked at Malcolm. He nodded. That framework is acceptable for the corrective action draft, she said. We also want Ms. Ellison included in the store impact review. Adrian tapped one finger against the table. Mara is an analyst. She doesn't have authority to commit Hallowell to process changes. You're right, I said. I'm describing what I would need before I accept responsibility for them. Victor studied me with a new expression, not warmth exactly. Calculation without dismissal. We'll formalize the authority, he said. Adrian turned to him. You can't redesign release governance during a client call. We can agree that it needs redesigning. I have 3 launches in the next quarter. Not under the current process, Priya said. The meeting ended with tasks instead of triumph. Caleb and I had 6 hours to complete validation. Lena had to reconcile the incident histories. Victor had to calculate store losses and draft the corrective action report. Adrian was assigned to prepare revised store guidance, subject to review by support and Bellwether. As people left the conference room, he remained seated. I unplugged Ohio from my laptop. You kept the packet, he said. It's the readiness archive. You knew it would go to Bellwether. It goes to Bellwether every release. You knew no one read those attachments. I didn't send it as a trap, Adrian. He looked toward the dark conference screen. That almost makes it worse. Why? Because you get to stand there pretending this just happened, like you didn't keep feeding it. I tested the software. I saved the results. I showed support when a store matched them. You refused every opportunity to contain it. Contain what? The crash or the record? He stood and pushed in his chair with both hands. I was trying to save the renewal. I know. That seemed to anger him more than accusation would have. I knew the launch could work, he said. It did work. The flow is faster. The patch is good. We could have fixed this quietly without handing Priya a reason to reopen the whole contract. You blamed the stores. I bought us time. With their credibility. With mine, apparently. He picked up his laptop, then stopped beside me. Claire thinks I'm the reason you don't trust people. That's something you should discuss with Claire. His eyes narrowed. You finally got what you wanted. My promotion is frozen, my sister won't speak to me, and I have 6 hours to certify a patch for a release I was locked out of. Which part looks like what I wanted? For once, Adrian had no answer polished and ready. He left. The patch passed at 7:42 that evening. Ohio completed 500 scans across 3 forced handoffs. Number 12 completed 400, lost power during commit, restored cleanly, and posted once. Caleb signed the engineering field. I signed validation beneath my own name. Before we submitted it, he changed product team back to Mara Ellison one final time. Will that stick? I asked. It's a locked PDF. So was my ticket. He considered that. I sent a copy to Priya. Look at you, escalating. I hate this place. You'll feel better after sleep. I've heard of sleep. Lena reviewed the store guidance and replaced workflow variants with application failure during network transition. Victor approved it without argument. Bellwether deployed the patch to 5 pilot locations the next morning, then to the remaining stores after 2 clean receiving cycles. Hallowell reimbursed the markdowns, overtime for recounts, and the inventory adjustments tied to duplicated batches. The total was painful enough to appear in a monthly report and ordinary enough that the company kept functioning around it. The corrected incident report named the pre-launch warning, the decision to exclude it, and the delay caused by misclassified tickets. Adrian's name appeared beside accepted risk. Mine appeared beside original finding. For the next month, he remained product lead but lost unilateral release approval. Victor joined his launch meetings, which irritated both of them. The director role went to a woman from implementation who asked during her first week why known risks had ever been editable without a disposition log. My promotion review happened 2 weeks late. The new title was Release Risk Manager, though I rejected the first job description because it gave me accountability for cross-functional alignment and no actual decision right. The second version included authority to preserve findings, require named risk acceptance, and escalate inventory or data integrity defects to an independent release reviewer. It also included a raise. I signed that one. Claire came to my apartment on a rainy Thursday carrying the casserole dish I had left at her house months earlier, though I had never owned it. "This isn't mine," I said. "I know. I needed something to hold." We sat at my kitchen table. She had read the readiness packet, the incident report, and Adrian's tracked changes. I could tell because she quoted none of them. Claire only avoided evidence when she had absorbed all of it. "He does that at home," she said finally. "He decides what the reasonable version is, and then I'm dramatic if I remember the first one." I waited. "I'm not asking you to say you knew." I didn't know. "You knew something." "I knew what he did to me." She nodded, accepting the boundary even though it disappointed her. "I'm angry you brought it into my kitchen," she said. "I know." "I'm angrier that he brought it there first and made me think you started it." "I know that too." She looked at the rain on the window. "I don't know what I'm doing yet." "You don't have to tell me first." That was the beginning of us speaking directly again. Adrian transferred out of Hallowell 3 months later. His new job focused on retail sales and product strategy, work that suited his real gifts and placed other people between his promises and the release button. He and Claire stayed together, though she stopped translating his explanations for him. Sunday dinners became less frequent and more honest. On the morning of Bellwether's next major release, I was alone in the test room before sunrise. The ceramic frog still guarded the password notebook. The fake basil had collected dust. 12 TC52 scanners sat in their cradles, their blue marks layered from months of handoffs, restores, dead batteries, bad patches, and clean ones. The release notes listed 2 accepted risks, each with an owner and a field validation plan. I signed the archive, picked up a cloth, and wiped the blue grease pencil from the first scanner, then the second. One by one, the old lines disappeared. On number 12, the device that had posted lavender 3 times while everyone else drank champagne, I stopped. I left one narrow blue line beside the battery seam. Then I set it back in its cradle and shipped the release.